Hey, what's up, Shook? Sorry that this video is late, but you know, life happens, and we're gonna put it out today or tomorrow, and then we're gonna put another one out this weekend. I pinky promise you. So today we're talking about Dorthea Puente, that crazy old bitch who killed 9 mentally disabled people, as well as 9 elderly people, mentally and disabled and elderly, because she ran a hospice for them. Also, if you're holding stock in GME, hold that motherfucker. So, give me 1 second, let me put on some eyeshadow primer, that's what it's called, right? And then I can't find my Milani palette with my nice toxic green, so I think we're just gonna do a black and white look for today. We're gonna see how it goes. I have no clue, honestly, we'll figure it out. I kinda wanna do like a little square right here. We'll see, we'll figure it out. I was also like, how do people have so much room to do stuff on their face? And I realized most of them shave their eyebrows off, which is not something I'm going to commit to. But I think we might do a little, like a black here. I don't know, we're gonna figure it out. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's okay, practice makes perfect. So we're gonna be talking about Dorthea Puente today. I don't know what I'm doing, let's just wing it. Let's summon all of our chaotic energy and wing it. I also realized that my cats got the cap off of some of my really good liquid eyeliner, and it's all dried out now, so that's cool. So glad that happens to me, so fun. I'm fucking over it. I'm over my time on Earth. Let's transcend to a different plane, and just hang out with aliens, because people on Earth suck, and some creatures on Earth are real pains in the ass. Isn't that right, Toothless? Yeah. It's gonna be alright. It's gonna be okay. I don't know what I'm doing, so let's fucking rock and roll this bitch. Alright, so Dorthea Puente was born January 29th, 1929. She was born in Redlands, California. Now, like most of our lovely individuals that we cover, she had quite the awful childhood. Her parents were both very big abusive alcoholics. You know, they didn't give a shit about her. It was just, like most people we cover, she had a rough childhood. And so her dad dies of fucking tuberculosis, because that was an issue back then. Dies of tuberculosis back in the day. Dude, tuberculosis, I read a book about that shit when I was in school, and it's so crazy. Like, your fingernails and shit would still grow when you're in the coffin. So like when people dug your body up, they thought you like they thought they buried you alive or something like that. I can't even remember. It's been so long ago. But yeah, so her dad dies of tuberculosis, and Dorthea, she's 8 years old, by the way, and Dorothea's like, you know what, it's gonna be okay, I've got my mom, we'll figure this out. Then her mom dies in a car accident, so that's quite traumatic, and that happened within the span of a year. You know, after her dad had died of TB, a year hadn't even passed when her mom fucking died in a horrific car accident. So she's fucking traumatized. That's not gonna have a normal upbringing, because that's just the way it goes sometimes. So she bounces around from, what the fuck am I doing here? She bounces around from orphanages, and then with family members, just, you know, kind of like couch surfing at this point, because no one really knows what to do with her. I don't know what's gonna happen with this look, but we're gonna figure it out, don't worry. So as she, you know, she's, like I said, she's bouncing around these orphanages, stuff like that. It's not gonna go well. She's being abused in these people's care, and really, you know, not doing this young child right. She was supposed to be protected. She was supposed to be protected. She was supposed to be taken care of, and the system failed her, for lack of better words. Like it does a lot of kids these days. So this isn't just a generational thing. That system's been fucked since its creation. Needs to be some reform. That's a different topic for a different day. In 1945, when she is 16, she marries a gentleman by the name of Fred McFall, who is fresh out of World War II. So he has seen some shit. She has seen some shit. Sounds like a lot of trauma bonding and just not a good relationship for both parties. So she is like, she's 16. She really like I can tell from what I was reading, she doesn't necessarily want to be married, but you know, here we are. She has 2 kids though during this marriage. Between 46 and 48, she has 2 children. One of them is sent to live with family members, and the other one is sent to given up for adoption. So it's obvious that Dorthea has no fucking interest in raising kids, has no interest in having a family. You know, I can imagine so with how fucking traumatic her upbringing was. I don't know what I'm doing with this look. I have no clue. We'll figure it out. Fuck. Fuck it. Go big or go home. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna bring this little sucker all the way down here. We're gonna do some white over here. I don't know. I don't have my green, so we'll figure whatever out for here. You know what? We're just gonna... It's our first crime and cosmetics in a minute. So let's just make her... Let's commit. This is borderline corpse paint, and that's alright. That's quite alright. Let's see what we got going on here. Probably should map this out with some liquid liner, but whatever. Fuck it. Let's roll with it, baby. I don't know. I kind of like the way this is going to turn out. Hold on. Let me finish this real quick. You know what? I don't hate it. I don't hate this, honestly. Alright, so where were we? Yeah. So she gets pregnant again in 1948, but she suffers a miscarriage, and her husband's like, fuck this, I'm out, and he leaves her. She, you know, she just tells people he died of, like, cancer and stuff like that, so they'll stop asking, and I guess it's, you know, kind of seems more tragic for her. But that's how she felt about the whole ordeal. She really didn't care. Now, what color should we back this up with? Oh no, that's the problem. What color? I'm thinking red. I don't know. Something about me says red, and then do a long wing. I'll think of my other shit real quick. I wish I had my Milani palette, because I would love to do a fucking toxic green. Ooh, I'm thinking, I don't know. I'm thinking this, you probably can't see it, whatever. This gold looks, I think we're going to do the gold. I think that's going to be a good, fucking stellar look. I was going to do a white with this look, but I don't know, this gold, something is telling me to use the gold. Anywho, so 1948, she's caught writing hot checks, and she is sentenced to a couple months in jail, and a couple years of probation. 6 months after she's released from jail, she leaves Riverside, California. So 1952, she's in Sacramento, and she marries a sea merchant whose name is Axel Johansson. Talk about a party. Something about sea merchants, suspect as hell. Never, I don't think, honestly think I've ever met a sea merchant, but every time I hear a story in my true crime research about a sea merchant, it's never good. Hey, how do you guys sharpen these lines up? Do you just use liquid liner? Is that what it is? I may have to use some liquid liner. Yeah, so she marries this sea urchin by the name of Axel Johansson, and she had created a entirely new personality, naming herself Taya Singola Nearda, I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce that. But she was claiming that she was Egyptian, Israeli, and was of the Muslim religion. Obviously, this was not true. They had a rough fucking marriage, though. You know, Axel was away on business all the time because he was a sea urchin. While he was away, Dorthea would regularly host parties at their house, gamble away with his money, shit like that, and it pissed Axel off, rightfully so. So in the 1960s, Miss Puente, is arrested at a brothel. Now, there are speculations that she was running this brothel. She says she was just visiting a friend, but the real story is not really, it's not confirmed what she was doing there. And running a brothel is not like a one and done thing. You don't just get arrested one time and like, okay, I'm out of this business for good. Because after she got out of jail or whatever for that, she didn't go back to that business. So I think she was... Fucking cat hair, dude. I think she was legitimately just there, either working there or like seeing a friend, something like that. She is sentenced to 90 days in the Sacramento County Jail. She briefly spends time in an institution due to binge drinking, criminal behavior, liar, and attempts at her own life. So, baby, me and you got beef right now, so... And then in 1968, she marries Roberto Puente. They separate. She says it was because of domestic abuse, but she is a known pathological liar, so who the fuck knows why they separated. In 1967, she attempts to serve him divorce papers and kind of go after him, but he flees to Mexico, and she never sees a penny from him. Damn, dude, I really had hopes about this gold, but it's not really showing up. What the hell? Hey, what's a good gold you guys recommend? This gold... Man, fuck you, dude. This gold is gonna be cool. Kinda. Let's try it. This not Milani palette, this goth palette that I really like. I can't find my Milani palette. I'm kind of pissed off about it. Oh well. I need to hurry up. I'm fucking flying through this case and not even got the look done. Who doesn't put a damn mirror in their palette, you son of a bitch? Where was I? So she tries to take him to court. He's like, yeah, not happening. Flees to Mexico. She never sees him again. I got makeup in me eye. Okay, that's showing up a little bit. Okay, I can understand that. I can dig that. She eventually also files a restraining order on Roberto. So after all this bullshit, she starts running a boarding house on 21st and F Street, and it catered to people that were alcoholics, people on disability, the mentally disabled, anybody, you know, that was getting government assistance, she would take in, especially the harder cases. And she became a bit of like a local hero in the hospice care community because she would always take these hard cases. Whenever there was an individual that the social workers couldn't place, they would place, you know, Miss Puente would be like, yo, come with me, you know, whatever. Let's go. Let's fucking rock and roll, baby. And she was seen as this, you know, saint basically because she was taking all these hard cases, like she had turned her life around, this, that, and the other, and you would like to believe that it was actually true. So let's get to what we're all here for and talk about her being a fucking murderer. So in 1982, 61-year-old Ruth Monroe begins living upstairs from, in the upstairs part of Miss Puente's house. I'm not too crazy about the gold up here. I feel like we can fill that in with another. Ooh, that is a nice looking purple. I do like that a lot. We can try that purple up there. I do kind of like the gold. I don't know if you can see it. I kind of like the gold on the under eye though. But so Miss Ruth Monroe moves in, and not long after, she is found upstairs dead from an OD, an overdose of codeine and acetaminophen. And Ruth, or I'm sorry, not Ruth, Dorthea tells police, oh, well, you know, she was very depressed because her husband was terminally ill. And police are like, that makes sense, it's a suicide, and does not look into it any further. We're gonna try this purple out. So, police write it off as a suicide, and they're like, all right, see you later, alligator, and deuce out. Well, a few weeks later, after this has happened, police arrive back at Miss Puente's house. Let me try just covering this top portion with this. Come on, give me some fucking vibrancy and color, dude. Oh my god. This fucking color is not vibrant at all. Let's try this bad boy. Okay, maybe we can put this purple up there and then cover her in the sparklies. Let's give her the old college try. Anyway, so police are back at Miss Puente's house. Why, you ask? Because, I don't know about that. We'll finish it up, see how it looks. Maybe this pink? That gold gets everywhere. I'm sorry, I got distracted. So, police are back at Miss Puente's house. Why, do you ask? It's because a 71-year-old pensioner, sorry, 74-year-old pensioner by the name of Malcolm Ramsey has told police that he had met Miss Puente out at a dive bar, and they had got to drinking, and when they went back to his house, he became suddenly paralyzed, and he had to watch as Miss Puente robbed him of all his possessions and then aggressively ripped the gold ring off of his finger. She had poisoned him and drugged him and robbed him, basically. Okay, so she fucking robs the shit out of Malcolm McKenzie. She was convicted of 3 charges of theft on August 18th, 1982, and sentenced to 5 years in jail. Now, while she was in jail, she begins corresponding with this 77-year-old pensioner, whose name is Everson Gilmouth. So she eventually gets released from prison, jail, what have you, and Everson is outside waiting for her, waiting to pick her up in this beautiful red 1980 Ford pickup. Now remember that because it's important. So he picks her up in this beautiful red 1980 red Ford pickup, and they whisk off to, you know, whatever. They love each other. They're in love. They're living at Dorthea's, I think, house for a minute. And then one day, I don't know if I should blend that. I don't like how not straight that is. Let's see if I can straighten out that line real quick with this liquid eyeliner. And then in November of 1985, Dorthea hires Ishmael Flores to install some wood paneling in her house. Nothing quite suspicious about that yet, huh? Well, just you wait, Suge. So she hires this dude to install some wood paneling, and she's like, you know what, for your work and an additional $800, I can give you this 1980 red Ford pickup. It's in great conditions, hardly used. It belongs to my ex-boyfriend who lives in LA. He says, sure, old lady, that's not suspicious. Wing could be worse. Hey, should I just use tape for these straight lines? I'm fucking stupid. We're blowing through this case. I only have one eye done. I look like a kid who just got into makeup. It's fucking, this is embarrassing. Oh well. Okay, so she's like, hey, I'll pay you in this 1980 red Ford pickup as well as an additional 200 doll hairs. And he's like, yeah, sure, why not, lady? That's a great deal. Of course I'm going to take that. And she's like, well, also, could you, by any chance, I don't know, build me a 6 foot by 2 foot box? And he's like, yeah, sure, what do you need it for? And she's like, oh, I'm just going to store some books and other things in it and, you know, take it to my storage unit. He's like, that sounds great. I will build you this coffin for you to store your books in. So after he builds her this box, she puts her belongings in it. He's not around. Good God, Fallout. She puts her belongings in it. She nails it shut, and they load it in the back. She's like, oh, can you help me unload it at my storage unit? And he's like, yeah, sure, of course, lady. And they hop in this truck, and they take off to Dorthea's supposed storage unit. On the way, though, apparently she has a change of heart about these books. She's like, I don't really want them anymore. Let's just drop them off near the river, which apparently was an unofficial dump site in the area, but still. So they get out of the truck, and they drop this box 3 feet from the river, and just leave it there. So would I blend this stuff? I feel like I like the deep contrast, so I don't want to blend, but I don't know, maybe I'll blend the bottom. Maybe I'm just stupid. Who knows? So let's put some tape on my other eye to, like, see if, you know, that's how you fucking tricky ladies and gaybies and theybies get those straight lines, eh? Fuck it, let's try her out. Let's see how she goes. You know, sometimes she goes, sometimes she don't, bud. So they just, like, drop this box by the river, and they're like, see you later. So yeah, sorry, I had to respond to some people. God, this does not look good. I'm like, you guys probably can't tell, but up close, it's a nightmare. Fucking cat hair everywhere, dude. Oh my God. Hey, War Chief, you're the last white cat I'm ever gonna have. You know that, right? I love you so much, but holy shit, I can't do it. So after they drop this box off, they're like, meh, and just leave it there. And then on January 1st of 1986, a fisherman spots the box, and he's like, that's a little weird. That kind of looks like a coffin. So he calls the authorities, and the authorities investigate it, and they find the partially decomposed body of an unidentified male. And that unidentified male sits there for 3 years. So that unidentified male is there for 3 years before anybody knows who he is. Now, in the meantime, Puente, now, you know, we all know who he is. It's Everson Gilmouth. So Puente has been collecting Everson's pension checks and stuff like that, and writing his family like a fucking psychopath, saying, oh, you know, sorry I haven't kept in contact, I'm really sick, like, blah, 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 and I'm just like, dude, you're insane. I mean, and her motive was for the money. Like, that's why she did all this, was because she wanted money. And that looks a little bit better. It looks a little bit more filled in. So, meanwhile, she is still running this boarding house, and she has 40 new tenants. So Gilmouth's body basically goes unidentified for fucking 3 years while she's got all these, and like I said, all these tenants in this boarding house are they're mentally ill people, or they're elderly people who can't take care of themselves. They are all the tough cases they are all the tough cases that social workers couldn't get anybody to take. So nothing, you know, there's not really any kind of limelight shown on Dorthea because, you know, social workers are kind of just turning a blind eye. Because basically what Dorthea is doing is she's taking these people's social security checks, she's cashing them at a dive bar down the street, and then literally she cashed them at a dive bar down the street, and then she would give the residents a stipend, and then she would pocket the rest for expenses. And the social workers knew that she was doing this. This was not like a secret. They knew what she was doing, but she was taking all these hard cases that nobody would take, so they didn't say anything to her. But there were instances where, like, because she was, if I remember correctly, she was still on parole, where parole officers would show up and be like, hey, just a heads up, like, you shouldn't be handling government checks and, like, you shouldn't be working with the elderly. And she was like, yeah, okay, but there were no actual violations against her. Even though she was doing both of those things. Honestly, the whole business was doing both of those things, handling government checks like Social Security and taking care of the elderly, but there were no violations brought up against her. And it was because she was taking all these hard cases, and she was seen as a hero in the social worker community. I'm surprised that I did that so well. Fuck yeah, bud. So, Dorthea adopted, basically, this homeless elderly man who was an alcoholic. He suffered from schizophrenia. She kind of hired him as a handyman. He went by the name of Chief. And the neighbors kind of noticed that some suspicious stuff was happening, like regularly Chief would be like wheelbarrowing away soil. Dorthea had him dig up the basement, which was covered in a concrete slab. And the way the articles were worded, it sounded very weird. I can't remember if she was making him dig up the concrete slab or she was making him put in a new concrete slab in the basement. But it sounded like it said that the basement was covered in concrete and he was digging it up. But, nevertheless, a bunch of new structures in Dorthea's backyard had I recant that statement. She had torn down a garage that was in her backyard and put like a fresh concrete slab over it. And which would be fine, but she was putting down multiple concrete slabs in her backyard, and she wasn't, like, no structures were going up. It was just a concrete slab. And so they were like, the neighbors were like, that's a little suspect. I don't know what's going on, but it can't be good. On November 11th, 1988, police inquire with Dorthea about a developmentally disabled schizophrenic man that had been reported missing by his caseworker. That man's name was Alberto Montoya. So the police are like asking Dorthea questions. She's just like, oh, don't know, tee-hee, little old lady me, because she looks like a caricature of an old lady. But the police notice some freshly disturbed soil in her backyard. And so they go to their cruisers and they get some shovels and they walk out there and they start digging. So they are digging. Honestly, I think this look may turn out better than I expected. I don't know if I like the accent colors, but the black, super stellar. I like this. So they're digging and they notice what is described as bits of ribbon, which, ribbons of clothing, as well as pieces of beef jerky in the soil. Which, that's fucking gross. So they are like, okay, this is getting a little weird. So they keep digging, and one of the officers hits what he thinks is a tree root. So he starts hacking away at it with his shovel, and he can't get it to break, so he hops down in the hole, and he begins pulling on it. So after he pulls this tree root out of the ground, he's holding it, and he's looking at it, he's inspecting it, and he realizes, well, that's no tree root. That's actually the bone of a human leg that he just ripped out of the socket. So the police are like, oh shit. So at this time, Dorthea is walking out back to see how their investigation is going, and the cop is literally holding this leg bone, and he's like, man, we just found this bone on your property, and I guess she wasn't an immediate suspect, so she literally, it's reported that she home alone and just went, just like overzealous, put her hands on the side of her face. People said that she did want to go to LA to be an actor. Well, she should have put more effort into it. So Miss Puente was not immediately a suspect for these murders, which, I understand because the way she looks, she's a little sweet old lady. How she's this super well-liked person in the hospice industry. People have nothing but good things to say about her. I always wonder why people tap their makeup brush. I know it was to get extra makeup off, but I'm like, why would you do that? Don't you want as much makeup as possible? And then I started doing makeup, and I'm like, oh, no, okay, I understand why now. But yeah, they didn't really immediately think she was a suspect because, she had this super stellar reputation in the hospice care industry. She was well liked in the community, everybody had good things to say about Miss Puente. She had her troubled past, but she had turned her life around, So since she was not immediately a suspect, she tells police, well, this is quite overwhelming. So I'm going to run up the street to the hotel. I'm just going to snag a cup of coffee, I'll be right back, guys. And she's like, all right, Miss, they're like, all right, Miss Sweet Old Lady, you go get your cup of coffee. We'll be here digging up your backyard. So she goes, she gets this cup of coffee, and she skedaddles immediately. She takes off to LA because she knows that the police, you know, they're eventually going to find out that she's responsible for this. Where the hell did I put that gold brush? That brush I used for the gold, eh? That was right there. There's gold in them there heels. She skedaddles to LA. While she is in Los Angeles, she goes and she's like, you know what? Let's do what I know best. Hit up a dive bar, which I feel you, Dorthea, same. Love me some dive bars. They're my fave. So she hits up this dive bar, and at this dive bar, she meets a nice 74-year-old pensioner. Seems to be her favorite. And they get to talking. She gives him a fake name, you know. They get to flirting and a Burton, you know, fucking, what's up, you sexy old lady. And then he has been watching the news, though. He's you can't pull the wool over this man's eyes. And he begins realizing who he's talking to. He then, I feel like it's the cycle of me being like, this look, I think this look looks like shit. And then we get into it, and I'm like, maybe it's not that bad, you know? So he calls the police on her. She is immediately arrested. She is charged with the murder of 9 individuals. Those individuals are Everson Gilmouth, Ruth Monroe, Leona Carpenter, Alberto Montoya, Dorothy Miller, Benjamin Fink, James Gallup, Vera Faye Martin, and Betty Palmer. So the trial begins October of 1992, and it ended later that year. There was a lot of, you know, it made national news because if you look up her picture, I mean, I showed you earlier, but she looks like the caricature of like an old, sweet little old lady. The jury was actually deadlocked 11-1 for a conviction on all counts, but eventually she was convicted. They agreed to first-degree murder counts, including special circumstances, as well as second-degree murder. And, you know, the defense was that her rough and troubled upbringing led her to do this, blah, 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 and look at all her years in healthcare work, this, that, and the other, you know, kind of bullshit if you're asking me, to defend her killing 9 people for their social security checks. Like, get out of here, dude. She was a ruthless killer. The prosecutor was John O'Mara, who was the homicide supervisor for the Sacramento County's District Attorney Office. And he called over 130 witnesses. He was, you know, he knew that she had a chance of, you know, getting off on these because of her age. She was a little old lady, and because of her reputation in the healthcare industry. Getting a little better at these wings every time. So, like I said, eventually she was convicted. John O'Mara. Closing arguments for Puente's acts of murder reads, does anyone become responsible? Because the whole defense was that, you know, she had this terrible upbringing, this, that, and the other, blah, 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 blah. You know, we should give her some leeway because all the stuff she's done in the healthcare world, whatever. But, you know, we need to take into account that she was emotionally abused, like, you know, sexually, emotionally abused growing up, physically abused growing up. Both her parents died. It was traumatic, this, that, and the other. That's the reason she's done all these things. So we should, you know, give her some leeway because she hasn't exactly had a easy life. John O'Mara's closing statements in the trial was, does anyone become responsible for their conduct in this world? These people were human beings. They had a right to live. They did not have a lot of possessions, no house, no cars, only their social security checks and their lives. She took it all. Death is the only appropriate penalty, because he was pushing for the death penalty. And he's right. You know, these people didn't have any other worldly possessions. They didn't own a house. They didn't own a car. They didn't own anything like that. The only things they had were their life and the social security checks, the money they were getting from the government. And Dorthea took both of those things because she was an asshole and a vile human being. And then Dorthea's defense attorneys, which were Peter Vlotten and Kevin Climo, they responded by, you know, seeing her trying to push the narrative of her rough upbringing as well as her caregiver status. And Peter addressed the jury in a very comforting tone, contrasting with O'Mara's shouting when he gave his statement. He says, "We are here today to determine one thing. What is the value of Dorthea Puente's life? That is the question. Does she have to be killed?" Vlotten spoke, I'm reading this from the Wikipedia page. Vlotten spoke gently about Puente's childhood, touching on the traumatic aspects that shaped her life and urged jurors to see the world through her eyes. "You have heard of the despair which was the foundation of her life, the anger, the resentment. If anyone in the jury room tells you it was not that bad, ask them, would you want that to happen to yourself? Would you like that to happen to your children? I am led to believe if there is any reason for us to be living here on this earth, it is to somehow enhance one another's humanity, to love and to touch each other with kindness, to know that you have made just one person breathe easier because you have lived. I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that it is why these people came to testify for Dorthea Puente. I think you can only truly understand why so many people testified and asked you to spare Dorthea's life only if you have ever fallen down and stumbled on the road of life and had someone pick you up, give you comfort, give you love, and show you the way. Then you will understand why these people believe Dorthea's life is worth saving. That is mitigating. This is a human quality that deserves to be preserved. It is a flame of humanity that has burned inside Dorthea since she was young. That is the reason to give Dorthea Puente life without possibility of parole. So like I said, they were pushing for the death penalty, but she had character witnesses come in and attest to her character. Again, you know, she was this fucking savior in the local hospice community. And I don't know where I sit with that. It's like, yeah, okay, you had a shitty childhood. I get that. Your upbringing was mad rough. I understand, and you're doing all these great things and helping people, but you know, what gives you the right to just murder these people in cold blood and then just be like, okay, see you later? Like, you don't have that right. And I don't know, I'm on the fence about that, if she deserved the death penalty. If it was like 1 or 2 people, I'd be like, all right, life without possibility of parole. But she'd murdered 9 fucking people, as well as her other criminal history, which, I mean, writing hot checks, okay, whatever, it's a victimless crime. I don't even think you should do jail time for that. What I also thought was funny was her long-lost daughter came and testified for her, saying, you know, she helped her turn her life around or something, and it's like, what do you, she didn't give a shit about you? What do you mean, dog? Like, she gave you way. Like, I get it, you can rekindle things, but what the fuck? I'm gonna try some pixelated makeup. How do you do stuff like that? I heard you dab it in a wet brush. Is that how you splotch it on like that to make it look pixelated? I would really like to give that a try. I'm probably not going to do very well at it because I'm still pretty novice to makeup, but practice makes perfect, I suppose. So anyways, Dorthea Puente is sentenced to life without parole. But she was only convicted of 3 murders because the jury could not agree on the other 6 since they were elderly, and, you know, there was speculation, did they actually, because one of Dorthea's defenses was they had passed away from natural causes and she was just burying them in the backyard. That was one of the reasonings behind them being there. So the jury couldn't decide if, you know, if she had actually murdered them or if they were just died of natural causes, and she decided instead of paying thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to put a dead person in the ground, she just buried them in the backyard. But nevertheless, March 27th of 2011, Dorthea Puente dies of natural causes in prison. And that is the story of our lovely, lovely granny killer, Dorthea Puente. Spruce this up with some lines on the side of the face here, and then I think we're good to go. Thank God I found this other eyeliner, this Tattoo Studio liquid eyeliner. This stuff is awesome. This is great. Oh my God, dude. I think this turned out pretty damn good. I'm gonna be honest with you now. Oh wait, eyeliner. Jesus. Get it together, Snackston. Okay, there we go. That's a little bit better. All right. But yeah, that is the case of Dorthea Puente, the old granny killer. Damn, this looked pretty good. Sorry this took so long to get out. It's been you know, hectic trying to, when I did the ketamine treatment, stuff like that. I got back and it snowed this week. My boss doesn't come to work when it snows, so I got stuck working a bunch of extra shifts. So sorry about that, but I will gonna be so much better about putting out content on time and regularly. But now is the time in our show, where we pick next weekend's, this weekend, well, technically, because we're going to be doing it this weekend, killer. So let's do that. Alright, let's fucking, who do we got going on here? Who's this? Who are you? Dingo ate my baby. I didn't know that was a real case, by the way, until one of my Australian friends told me to do that one. I had no clue. But that's the case we're covering next weekend, or this weekend, so be prepared to that. It sounds like a fucking wild one, to be honest with you. Thank you so much, my lovely sweet sugar bushes, for stopping by and hanging out with me on this lovely, lovely afternoon. If you like, you can follow me on my other social medias. I stream on Twitch, things of that nature, post dumb thirst traps on Instagram, things like that. I will link my other social medias in the description of this video. Join our Coven, it's our Discord server. I will also put the link to that in the description of this video. Write me a letter. Speaking of which, shout out to Danielle, because she sent me these, so these playing cards from my Amazon wishlist. They're super cool. So this is what the backs look like. The backs look like that. And then, so we have like the Joker. They're Carnival Deadeyes. Let's see, find our face cards. We have our Jack of Spades. Oh, fuck. Then we have a Queen of Spades. Oh my god. And then a king, and then, I mean, that's just what the cards, you know, the artwork of the cards is super cool, and like our aces and stuff like that. But yeah, super, super cool. So thank you, Danielle, for that. But she also sent me, I haven't checked my P.O Box in like 2 weeks. We're gonna have to do that like today. She also sent me this super cool Kakashi Pikachu. He's so fucking cute. Look at him. But yeah, thank you so much, Danielle. I will put my P.O Box down in the description of this video if you want to write me letters. I love reading them. I still, you know, I hold on to all of them, so don't you worry. I'm going to put them in a big old scrapbook when I get the chance. But thanks so much for stopping by and following me along on this new look, because I've never done something like this before, but I am 100% feeling it right now. So we're going to have to do more of these. I hope you guys have the best day ever. I hope all the good things happen to you. Be kind to others. Most of all, be kind to yourself. Please reach out to somebody if you need help. You know, we have a support system. We're here for you, and your existence is so precious. Your life is precious. You matter. Your feelings are valid. You are valid. I love you so much. I will see you this coming weekend. Bye-bye.